Hello, beautiful people, soul fam, divine sacred collective, coming in to share a long form story, basically. So, this is on YouTube, and this is about an inner child memory that I had. I think people think inner child healing is just all sunshines and roses and everything's great, but it's also processing trauma. It's reparenting yourself. It's feeling into your body, your heart, and your memory of like what you may have downplayed as trauma in your life. And I've done a lot of that. And this memory came up this morning when Mercury went into Cancer, which is in my 12th house. So I'm not surprised that this happened. I didn't know that this was happening until afterwards when I looked up the astrology stuff. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know how I got to this memory, honestly, but I remember being at my dad's house because my parents were divorced. My dad had remarried another woman who had three children, three little girls. One was older, one was the same age as me, and then a younger one. And I would go visit him, you know, I think in the summers or something. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I was there. We were, this woman, my stepmother, was I guess, old school kind of black parenting. I don't know. But if one person got in trouble, then everybody was getting beat, right? So sometimes I'm being hit and spanked and beat by someone who's not my mom, who has no rights to be touching me technically. But anyways, my dad's doing nothing because he's absent and doesn't care. So yeah, I have experienced a lot of physical and verbal and even spiritual abuse in a way from these people that aren't really related to me. But anyways, it's not the matter. It doesn't matter. It's just the point is I experienced abuse and I downplayed it a lot in my life because, well, that's not my mom, I was only there for the summers or for Christmases. So it wasn't a constant thing, but there's all these other factors involved. I'm just trying to stick to the story though. So anyways, one of the times that I was there, I don't know. I'm assuming my dad and stepmom were either working or not home or whatever reason. But usually when that happened, that meant, oh, you guys got to get all these chores done because, adults don't do their own chores. Children have to do everything. And I mean everything. I mean, we're scrubbing. Like, yeah, I'm not talking about, oh, take out the trash. No, you're scrubbing bathrooms and toilets and sinks and bowls. And you're just like, you're deep cleaning and you're like 7. And I'm not saying you shouldn't teach your kids how to clean, but like teaching, doing it with them. We're 7 and 8 and 9, not that old. But anyways, when they were gone, I knew it was going to be awful because yes, this woman's hitting us and stuff and that sucks. But now it becomes like, I don't remember what that show or experiment was called, but was when you get people who are the wardens or the guards and you have the prisoners and it's always awful. It became that. So me and the younger sibling ended up being the like chore people, and the older siblings were now in charge of us, watching us, directing us, hitting us with the blind rod thing that to open and close the blinds. And in this particular instance, I just me was forced to wear a bag over my head, a brown paper bag, because I'm dark skinned. They were lighter skinned. And so they put the bag over my head. I was told I was ugly. They cut little holes so I could see, but you're ugly, you're burnt, you're nothing, you're worthless, you're doing a bad job, clean this, clean that, just being traumatized by other children, technically, who I know are also traumatized because I know who their mom is. That's how I played it off as I got older. But it's like my inner child, I don't know how or why, that's what popped up this morning. And I had to have a good cry because I've always downplayed that story. Like, oh yeah, one time they made me wear a bag over my head. Ha ha ha. Like, yeah, it sucked. It sucked there. They were, like, but I've never allowed myself to fully feel the weight of how that affected my psyche and really scarred me and messed with my idea of self-love and self-worth and being accepted, especially by other Black women and other little Black girls, even at that time as a kid, and the fears that I just developed about friendship and other women and connecting with them. Like, for a while, I was a tomboy. For a while, I would only hang out with boys, not because I wanted to date them, but I just was like, I felt safer being around boys than I did girls because I don't know, growing up where I grew up and what I was around, girls were mean, especially the black girls. They were always so mean to me, and I never understood why. And I had no one to guide me any differently. It was always just, oh, if somebody puts your hands on you, put your hands on them, okay, but not, and yes, my mom would tell me I'm beautiful and pretty and whatever, but it's not. It's almost like it was just dismissed, like, oh, it's just part of being a kid. Girls don't, people are mean, and people just dismiss you as a child, like, oh, you're just supposed to go through that. And I find that to be bunk and bullshit and like really fucking awful. And it's because here you are later in life trying to understand why you are so self-serving and over-pleasing and feel like you're not allowed to have nice things for yourself, right? And all this storylines and rhetoric that I've been telling myself for years and years and years, and downplaying what even happened because, well, that's not my mom. It was my stepmom, and I would only be there in the summers or maybe for Christmas or whatever. So it wasn't an all the time thing. I'm sure my siblings had it worse, blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I experienced trauma from my supposed siblings, sisters, and trauma from this woman who's not my mom, the trauma of the fact that my dad already neglected me as an infant and is still technically neglecting me as a child because he's not doing anything to intervene with the fact that this woman is putting her hands on me in inappropriate ways, because that was just the culture in the community back then, is you just beat your fucking children. It's fucking awful, and it's triggering as fuck. And so I apologize that I'm losing myself, but it's just, I had to have that moment this morning and realization that I have been downplaying my trauma, downplaying that, yes, I went through abuse. Yes, it was emotional and physical and, you know, psychological. And I was terrorized a lot of the time. And also recognizing that I was neglected as an infant for a little bit, which is a whole other story for a different day, I'm sure did not help my nervous system as I got older to deal with these young girls traumatizing me. Like, there's no stand up for yourself, nothing. And I would write in my diary that I felt like fucking Cinderella. And yes, The Little Mermaid was one of my favorite Disney movies when I was a child, because I wanted to be a mermaid, not because I wanted Ariel's story. No, I just wanted to be a mermaid. I wanted to escape. I wanted to live in the sea. I didn't want to be amongst humans. But Cinderella was like, that would pull my heartstrings, because I'm like, I want to be out of this nightmare. Where's my prince kind of thing, but not really. More so it's just like being with the stepsisters and like feeling like I'm just the worst somehow. I don't know, being forced to clean. Sometimes it would just be me cleaning, and they were all against me. But usually not, but sometimes. It's just the colorism issue of it all, yes, girls can be mean, but whatever it's just all of it and how it affected my psyche as a child, especially with my dad not doing anything or my mom not really doing anything. Because I did speak up to my mom one time that I felt like what was going on. Like, she's hitting us for no reason. There's been times that we had thought about calling CPS and we never went through with it. Like, it wasn't a good environment to be in. And my dad, again, just doing everything that he always does, nothing. So I did tell my mom. And I've talked to my mom about why nothing happened. And she's like, well, I confronted her, and I think she just, the stepmom was like, oh, she's just over exaggerating. I would never, type of thing, just lied. And my mom just believed her, I think, is basically what we talked about. I can't really quite remember, maybe because I was still kind of angry about it, so I blocked it out. But that was what I feel that she told me, was that she had talked to Janae, and Janae said that I was exaggerating. She said that sometimes, yes, she would spank the kids, just like downplayed the situation in a way that made my mom, I guess, feel safe and trusted her. And because I remember after telling my mom and all these things, that when I came back the next time, oh yeah, I got my ass beat. You don't talk about what goes on in my house, and I'm being beaten by this woman after I just spoke up that I'm being mistreated. So needless to say, I learned, really can't tell nobody anything, because no one's going to do anything for you. You're on your own. Good luck. Like, that is, the messaging I'm receiving. Like, I'm reaching out for help and nothing's changing. So What's the point of saying anything? I'm a child. Again, who was neglected. My nervous system is already unregulated. It's a lot. And I just had to cry. I had to cry. I had to cry. I had to cry. I had to hold myself. And I practiced, going back in time to that moment and confronting my siblings and saying, this is not how you treat a person. Being the parent in the room that should have been there type of deal, and protecting my inner child because no one's ever protected her. No one's ever made her feel worth protecting. I've grown up feeling like I'm not worth protecting. I have tried to off myself. I tried to off myself when I was 7. It wasn't successful. It was a light-hearted attempt. I was like, I'm going to walk down the stairs backwards and I'll eventually fall and break my neck. I'm a child. I don't truly know how to end my life, right? And then when I was in high school and I had my first heartbreak, and that just like sent me over the edge, and I threatened. I didn't even do anything actually. I just threatened to end my life, and then I ended up in the like children's psych ward or whatever, and I was like, okay. And I still didn't take medication because, again, no one's actually talking to me. It's when I reflect on it, no one's actually talking to me. But of course, I have a wall up because I've tried talking before, and what did it get me? And then the more recent time was in 2019, before COVID, actually. But in 2019, I also actually tried to end my life. I actually hurt myself and ended up in the hospital and all that stuff. And ever since that moment, I've been on this journey of reclaiming who I am. And it's been a journey. It's been a long process. It's, years of therapy really, really helped. It helped me not want to die. But I would argue we never got into like this type of stuff, like my trauma, my like, why didn't we talk about any of this? But I guess, they were just trying to keep me from wanting to off myself. And then I was on medications and all those things and getting all these diagnoses. But it's just like, I would argue that my spiritual journey has done more unearthing and healing for me than therapy alone. I think therapy is very useful. I think therapy, when you find the right therapist, because not everybody's a good fit. I had a therapist at one point before I tried to off myself, and she made me think I was an alcoholic and I had to go to rehab and I was in AA and all this other stuff. And I'm like, lady, this is not my issue. I just needed medication. Why she didn't go there first? Because she herself was an addict. So she was projecting based off the patterns that I was experiencing to say that I was now an alcoholic. No, I just needed medication. But anyways, it's fine. Sorry, tangent. That's why I'm saying you need the right therapist. It takes time. It's not like a one and done. You just found the right therapist. My therapist was great for getting me back to being more in my body, and the medication helped my thoughts not be so crazy and overwhelming. And so I could learn to actually deal with them on my own. I am now not medicated, except for like marijuana, but like I'm not medicated in that sense. And I feel so much more in control of my emotions and the regulations that I'm going through because of my spiritual journey. And only in the last 6 months, 8 months have I been really deeply in my spiritual journey, reconnecting to it, ancestor work, spiritual baths, witchcraft, mysticism, tapping into my creative energy and using it in a way that's actually healing for me, and not as opposed to, I gotta make this so I can make money. No, it's I'm doing this creative thing for myself, for my inner child, because I love to be creative. I want to live my life creatively. I want to live my life with joy and pleasure because I went through the chapters of hell and I am done with that. I earned my badges and my stripes and all the things, all the levels, blah, blah, blah. I'm done. I'm done with that. It's changing my mindset, changing my perspective. And, like the new age talk of change your frequency, you have a choice, like all those things. Like I am doing that. But it's because I went through trauma though, that I understand when I see those like fluffy posts that people post, like, you just have to be joyous all the time. I'm like, you clearly haven't been through anything. Because I tried just being joyous all the time and not addressing the trauma. And that is not how you get to wholeness, honey. You got to go through the darkness. You got to go through the shadow. You got to go through the pain. You've got to go and face those things that you tried to downplay and say wasn't a big deal. And everybody goes through it. Whatever you've told yourself. Yes, there's people who've went through worse than you, but it doesn't negate what you went through. And that's something I really had to learn, that yes, it may have been worse for them, or yes, it may have been worse for other people. I didn't, get sexually assaulted as far as I'm concerned as a child. Not that I remember, but you know what I mean? Like, there's all these things. It's like, sure, I didn't go through this. And this isn't the pain Olympics. My pain is still my pain, and it still matters, and it still affected me, and it still affected my psyche, and I need to process it. It's still worthy of being processed. It's still worthy of me facing it. Excuse me. And I swallowed wrong. And reparenting myself, because at the end of the day, my parents sucked. Like, my mom is great. I love my mom, do not get me wrong, but like, when I look back, I'm like, where were you? Like, yes, you kept a roof over my head and you told me you loved me and all of those things, but sometimes it needs to be deeper than that, right? But I also know I was also very dysregulated and would shrink myself and just try to not be a burden to my mom. Like, I wouldn't express my problems because I didn't want to be a burden. You know, children pick up on silent things. And though my mom never told me I was a burden, she always told me I was a blessing. Oh, my mom was a beautiful person. But my mom also has trauma. So she, you know what I mean? Like, this is a cycle of trauma and a cycle of trauma. And my grandmother had trauma. Like, I'm being that cycle breaker. I'm calling out what it is. I'm saying, I love you, but this wasn't good parenting. I love you, but that wasn't the smart decision to make for me as a child. Like, we live and we learn. I don't hate my mom. I've reconciled with my dad. I don't hate him, but I do have issues, obviously. Still working through. I'm not perfect. I still have a dad wound. The wounds are going to be there. They shaped me to be who I am, to become this diamond that I've excavated and it's still covered. It's not polished yet, but I'm a diamond, baby, and I'm going to shine bright. And my experiences on this new chapter that I'm living, my new mindset, what I'm calling in and attracting into my life, like, it's just going to polish that diamond and get it all night, and it's just going to shine bright, and I'm going to sparkle, and I'm going to impact others with my story and my vulnerability, that, you know, your pain is your pain and you need to own it. It is worthy of being looked at. It's worthy of recognition. It's worthy of being healed, so that you can become whole and become the person that you've always wanted to be, the person that you were sent here to be, the person that you love so deeply. You're so secure in yourself. And I've grown so much with the secure attachment idea, because they always talk about it in relationships, and I don't know what I thought it meant, but one day I recognized it's like, no, it's actually just being secure with yourself. So secure with yourself, it's not that you don't, so secure with yourself, you don't necessarily need anyone else, but you still want other people. You still want friendship. You still want connection. You still want to help people. You still want to love. You still want to, be in love and share love and all those things, of course. But you're still secure enough with yourself that it's not a need. So then you're not acting outside of yourself or disrespecting yourself or people pleasing, trying to manipulate for attention and validation. Yeah. So that was what my inner child helped me realize and learn this morning, on June 1st, as all these astrological shifts have occurred. And yeah, it's about integration right now, about reflection. And that was something I wanted to reflect on and share with the collective, with anybody out there who's struggling, who is still trying to learn to love themselves, for those who downplay what they went through, because, somebody else had it. It doesn't matter. You're you. Your experience is your experience, your story, your life. It's not to be blind to anybody else's pain, but it's to recognize your own and honor that and work through that, because you deserve that for yourself. You deserve that. You deserve to love, honor, and respect all aspects of yourself and integrating those lessons. You deserve that. Because you're worthy and you are always worthy, and what happened to you does not make you unworthy. And then when you get help, when you do the work, and you get things that bubble up, and it's like, I could just go back to that old way of being, you choose joy. You choose love. You can only have those types of options when you've gone through the work and actually be authentic. Because you can mask joy and love all day long. We've all technically been doing it. But true, authentic joy and love comes from doing work. It's not just a simple choice of, man, I'm poor today, I'm just going to choose to keep being joyful. No, you have to dig deeper into that and dig deeper into what success means to you, what money means to you. Why are you poor? What, is it your mindset? Is it ancestral wounds? Like there's so many other reasons than just I'm just gonna choose joy and force my way through it. That's not okay. Um, Although I want to spread joy and spread love, I also understand that it's more nuanced than just a choice. So I hope this resonated with someone out there. Thank you for listening to me, letting me share. I appreciate you and I love you.